Hey, Hugh Taylor here, coming to you again from my messy home office. It's been about 6 months since I posted a video, and I missed you guys, so I really wanted to have a moment to talk about public relations once again. And today is one of my favorite, or maybe least favorite topics, which is press releases for litigation and criminal legal matters. I get asked about these a lot. I've written dozens of them, but this is definitely a category where I often say sometimes it's better not to write a press release. And I really want you to understand what goes on when you write a press release about a legal matter you're involved in. But first, because we're talking about legal matters, I have to offer an important disclaimer. This video is simply for informational purposes only. It is not meant to be legal advice. I am not an attorney. I am not offering you legal advice. You should not rely on the information in this video for anything you're doing. You should consult with your attorney for legal advice related to publicity and press releases. Now that we've gone through that, let's talk about 3 tips for legal public relations. Briefly, they are: number 1, be careful. This is very tricky stuff. Number 2, be clear about who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. And number 3, get legal advice before making public statements. Number 1, be careful. If you're involved in a legal matter, if you're being sued or if you're suing someone, or if, and I really hope this isn't your situation, you've been accused of a crime and you're going to go on trial, be extremely careful about writing and distributing press releases. A press release is a public statement. You're making a public statement, and as they say on TV, anything you say can be held against you in a court of law. And chances are, if you're in a litigation situation, you're already under a lot of stress, and a press release can potentially add to that stress by adding further complications. For example, you could, even without realizing it, defame somebody. You could give your opponent a defamation claim against you. So I often say, think carefully. Maybe you don't want to do a press release. And this is a great moment to talk about something that people may not understand about public relations. There's 2 kinds of public relations firms or publicists. There's some that try to get your name in the newspaper, and there's others that try to keep your name out of the newspaper. Now, I do the former. I'm the, get your name out there kind of guy. But if getting your name in the paper is bad for you, which may be the case in a legal situation, you should either work with or think like a so-called crisis public relations person. Think about how to avoid media exposure rather than get media exposure. Just depends. Now, of course, that brings us to our next point. Be clear about who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. Now, there may be a very good reason to do a press release. There may be something that you want to say that will help your legal case. And one interesting thing that can happen, and I've seen this a few times, sometimes people in a lawsuit will write a press release that they don't intend to distribute, but they want to show their legal opponent what they could say. This is an interesting tactic where they say, if we can't settle this lawsuit, we're going to issue the following press release, and it's going to be embarrassing to you, so why don't we settle this right now? That's an interesting strategy. But think about what's your goal. And one important thing I want to make sure everybody understands is, if you want to distribute a press release through a distribution service like PR Newswire, there's 2 things you have to have. One is you have to have an actual case number, like a court case number. When you file a lawsuit, there's a case number. You must provide that. And you have to be a party to the matter, as they say. You have to be either the plaintiff or the defendant, or an attorney or representative of those 2 entities, one of those 2 entities. You can't just be like a person with an opinion on a lawsuit. They won't distribute that. There's too much liability for them. They don't want to defame anybody either. And the press release distribution company will look at this press release and will push it back to you if there's something in it, like an accusation that can't be corroborated or whatever. And the question I also want to ask what you want to ask yourself is, do you want the attention you may get? And this is something that I've seen a lot. And just as a, by the way, I've been involved in litigation over the years. I know how painful it can be. It's expensive. It's stressful. There's an urge to get your side of the story out. You want to be heard. You want to be understood. You want people to know that you're right and they're wrong. But let me tell you a little secret about reporters. They don't care. They're interested in writing a juicy story. And if they can make you look bad and sell newspapers or get clicks or whatever, they'll do that. And I just had this situation where somebody was close to settling a lawsuit, or had actually, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. They had won a judgment. They won their case. And they're like, okay, I won my case. I want to go public. I want to do a press release. And it was a situation, it was like a sexual harassment sort of case. And I said to this person, I said, you really have to be careful because the press might just simply want to start relitigating the whole case. Oh, this woman accused you of this. What about this? If you're trying to clear your name, keep your name out of the papers. By making an announcement, you're just inviting more media attention, and media attention is not always good. So just to be aware of that, okay? And then the third thing is, and this is the most important of all, get legal advice before making public statements. Now, this may seem obvious, but I know there's a lot of situations where the attorney, it's someone who's on a contingency, or you may not be working that closely with him or her, and you may just say, I'm just going to do a press release, and they don't even know what you're doing. Please check with your attorney, because your attorney may say, great idea, terrible idea, don't do it now, do it later. They usually have a good sense of what you should be doing, and of course they can tell you, oh, no, don't say this, because you'll be, making some kind of statement that's bad for you in a legal sense. And then another thing is, ask your attorney if he or she should be the spokesperson in the press release. This is often a good idea because, again, like with the media, you have to be very careful. Like if a reporter calls you up and you say something just, because they ask you a question, it may not be the smartest thing to say for the sake of your lawsuit or your criminal matter. So those are some ideas on what you should think about before getting started with a press release for a legal matter. And I invite you to read our free ebook, Stop Being Invisible. This is just our general public relations book. It's available at our website. See the link below. And if we can help you, please get in touch, commsfactory.net. We can answer any questions you have. Thanks for listening. And also there's a special offer in the link below, so maybe you can take advantage if you want.